What's up, guys? Coach K here with F.I.T Fitness and Nutrition in your weekly Drop of Movement Monday. Today we're going to go over some common core faults and how to fix them. I've gotten a couple messages regarding the ab work that's in the programming and comments on low back pain or different symptoms that they've been feeling, and so I want to give you guys a couple of tips to help you with your core work and feel it less in your back and more in your core. So first things first, we're going to start on our back and we're going to talk about your setup. So anytime you go to do an ab exercise, whether it's a sit-up, a leg raise, a dead bug, anything, I want you to think about your positioning here. I like to start with a breath. Big breath in through my nose, out through my mouth, and set my back. And so when I'm setting my back, I'm taking my pelvis into a neutral position, and that's gonna press my low back into the floor. And that exhale is gonna kind of lock it all in. So now that my back is set, I couldn't even slide a piece of paper under my back. So that's where you want it to be. And you want it to stay in this pressed position the entire time. If you start doing your ab exercises and your low back pops off, my abs are losing their engagement, and now I'm feeling it in my back. So I'm gonna reset. And now I'm in this good neutral position, my core is engaged. So from there, if it's a sit-up, I can take my hands back, sit all the way through, and I'm gonna roll through my vertebrae back down, only to the point where my low back is still pressed. If I go back here and that back pops off, I know that I've lost the engagement in my core. So once again, if I'm sitting up, I'm gonna roll through my vertebrae and only go back as far as I can control. I can go all the way back and still keep that back pressed down. But for some, that may be here, which is why a crunch, working through this range of motion and rolling through the spine, might be a better scale. Back to that scaling. So work within your means of strength. If you can come all the way up, roll through your spine and stay engaged, do so. If you're having to go here and crunch here, you're losing that. And if you are postpartum, for instance, and losing that ab engagement and always sitting up through there, you could be putting some pressure into a healing diastasis, etc. So work within your range of motion where you're strong. Same thing goes for a V-up. I see this a lot of times in V-ups where you're here, the legs lower, 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 and that low back pops off. If your low back is coming off the mat or the floor, you've gone too far. Lessen the range of motion. Find a scale. That may look like this. Notice my back is staying down. If I'm not strong enough to lower my legs, bang, that's gonna happen. Core engagement, gone. So work within a smaller range. A great modification is to do bent leg. If you're not strong enough yet to extend the legs and hold this position, bend the legs. It takes a lot of the pressure off. So bend the legs. You can do one leg. You can do both, but bent. You can do a crunch instead of a full sit. A lot of modifications there. Just make sure that low back is staying pressed against the ground. You're in that hollow pelvis position, neutral pelvis position, and staying hollow in your core. Now planks. Another exercise where I get comments, messages, I'm feeling it in my low back, blah, 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 blah. So it's the same thing, only flipped over. So now we're here. If my low back was off the floor in a plank, it would look like this. Imagine the floor under my butt and my shoulders, space. Tuck your pelvis under slightly so everything is in line. Relax your fingers, hands down into the floor. I'm pressing my elbows into the floor, into the mat, so I'm not saggy in my shoulders. I'm keeping the weight centered. If I'm pushing back, if you're coming out of your shoes, you're trying to push back and take the pressure off your core. It should be difficult. If you are not to this level, once again, drop a knee, drop two knees. I would rather you see you in a good position, scaled, than in like this wonky butt up, low back arched, funky position. Think about where your pelvis is. If you're breathing, think about the scales. You can bend a leg, bend both legs, decrease the range of motion, build to that core strength, and you should feel it more in your abs, less in your back. Hope that helps.